Hello. Did you know that queer people exist and have existed as long as humans have been around? Yet for most of history, they have been overlooked, silenced, and oppressed to the extent that even queer representation today makes most people go, what are these strange new concepts I need to learn to refamiliarize myself with the world? Well, fortunately, while queerness is neither new nor strange, we at The Mesh are here to help you understand. This video series is a curation of unique experiences and stories, as told by those who live these stories themselves. Welcome to.
And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Queer Diaries, where we talk to members of the queer community about their hobbies, interests, and their passions. Here with us, we have Tyler. Tyler, tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Tyler. I often go by Juice with a lot of my friends. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a postal worker for the United States Postal Service. And I spend most of my free time playing games.
Postal worker, the unsung heroes of society.
Yeah, we are kind of the backbone.
Yeah, truly. Um, so, talking about identity, uh, it is usually a process. It gradually sets in. First, there's realization, then there's denial, acceptance. But was there any specific moment that you can point out where you first started questioning things?
It was kind of like weird because it wasn't really a great moment, but there was a time with the ex that I had like before I really started I knew I wasn't straight, but I wasn't exploring my gender identity at all yet. And there was like this time that like my ex and I were going through hard times, and she said like, "Aren't you supposed to be the man?" And like when she said that, I was just like, "What does that even mean?"
Right.
And like that was kind of like an aha moment. I was like, I don't know what that means. And from that point on, especially like after me and her broke up, and I started like I kind of like got depressed and became eternally online or like extremely online. And I just met a bunch of people online, and I got all these new perspectives, and it was kind of like perspectives that were putting into words the stuff that like I was feeling but couldn't like process before, you know?
I think I agree with you a little bit there. I mean, I think I'm very privileged in the sense that I've never really cared about my gender identity. I very much consider myself a man, but if you ask me, what is a man to you, I would not have an answer for you.
Yeah.
So, what was the transitional period for you like? It must have been challenging accepting an entirely new idea of you.
Oh yeah, especially in the area I live in, like I'm not like in the middle of nowhere where it's like super rural, but like the nearby city is only like medium sized. So it's not like the most progressively mindset. Like a lot of the younger generations are, of course, but like the places around here and the people who run most of things aren't so much progressive.
Right.
And it was weird with a lot of my friends. Like I still have a lot of like just like straight cis friends, and took some of them a while to get used to it, really. And I had to like remind people a lot and like explain myself a lot to the point where it got exhausting, to where I was just like, yeah, I'm just not a gender, guys. Like, I don't know how to explain this anymore.
And what kind of role did your immediate family and your closest friends play in this transitional period?
What was that one more time?
What kind of role did your immediate family and your closest friends play in this transitional period for you?
Oh, well, with my immediate family, I only really talked to my brother about it. Like my parents are just, it's not even really something that matters so much in the relationship I have with them, if that makes
Right,
sense.
right, right.
Like I don't really like just, I just don't talk to them about it as much.
Is it
Uh,
like a
Not because they're
don't
like
ask, don't
bad
tell?
parents or anything.
Is it like a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy, or is it like uh, they just don't care? Or
I kind of take a don't ask, don't tell policy about it.
right,
It's not like what they believe or what I feel they would want. It's just kind of what I choose to do with it. It's
right,
kind of the same way I am at work because I work at a place that's like it hires more people in America than like McDonald's and Subway does. It's like one of the second biggest employer in the country. So like all kinds of people work there, and it's just like it's easier to just like not even like worry about how they see my identity than to try to explain to everyone there, especially because it's like there's some of the most leftist people ever working for the post office, but there's also some of the most right wing people ever working for the post office. So
um,
it's really like hit or
so
miss.
speaking of that, the don't ask, don't tell policy, do you ever feel a sort of imposter syndrome that comes with it?
Yeah, especially well for me, it's more so like I get weird feelings when queer people assume I'm cis. But like if a cis person that I don't really know well at all assumes I am, it's not a big deal because I'm probably only seeing that person in passing.
Yeah,
But it's weird when you're in a queer space and people don't realize that, which I don't really do a whole lot as far as physical indicators, which is why, I would be like cis passing, which is fine. But, it is, I would prefer like more other queer people to just not immediately assume that of everybody. But I understand that in the society we live in, especially in the place I live in, like, yeah, most people who look cis are cis. It's what I mean.
yeah,
So
it
like I
isn't
don't
like
get
a
too
judgment call.
yeah. I don't get too bothered by it, but like I said, if I'm in like a queer space and people aren't treating me like I am part of that space, then yeah, it feels pretty imposter-y, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So did you mentioned a love of gaming? So did any piece of media play a significant role in you understanding yourself better?
I wonder if I mean to be honest, the one I can think of the most because it was when I was like started reading around the time I really started thinking about that stuff and came out was like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but that's not a video game.
Yeah,
But like I'm sure a lot of the games I played growing up were like, especially a lot of the like I guess queer baity characters that are common in like old JRPGs,
oh yeah, oh
I'm
yeah,
sure like seeing stuff like that, you know what I mean? And like
yeah.
also like I always really liked a lot of the girl characters in games. And
Mhm.
not necessarily in like a oh she's hot way always, but like also in like a that's who I like
Uh,
identify it with a bit more. Oh, actually, Final Fantasy IX, uh, Quina from Final Fantasy IX is a non-binary character and probably the first non-binary character I witnessed in a game because like they don't have like a set gender, and I think they like
yeah.
bounce. They don't like refer to them as they in the game, but I'm pretty sure they bounce around with he and she.
Mm.
So and like the entire, I think Quina's entire like race of people were all like genderless too,
But
if I remember correctly.
was it something that was explicitly confirmed, or do you think it may have been a localization issue, or
I honestly don't know about that because I've never like I'm actually kind of into that stuff. I like researching the localization of games. Like earlier, I was telling you about how I was like reading up on changes in the Yakuza games.
Yeah,
The well, not earlier in the interview, but when we were talking earlier. But like, I would have to research that because that would be nice to know.
yeah, yeah. So walk us through a day in your life. What's it like? From the moment
Like,
Juice gets out of bed to the moment Juice goes back to bed.
should
What
it be a
happens?
day that I'm off or a work day?
Tell us about both.
Do what? Okay, so well, work day. I wake up really, really early. Like right now, I have to get at work at 9 a.m. But in the future, it's probably going to be more like 8 a.m. or 7:45 a.m. So I'll wake up for now. I'll wake up at like 6:30 or 7 a.m. I'll use the bathroom, and I'll just kind of sit in the bathroom on my phone for a while, and then I'll finish
Just
up.
doom scrolling.
Yeah, I'll finish up. I'll either eat something or I'll like get my clothes ready. It just depends on how I feel when I do first. But at that time frame between then and work, I will get my cooler ready for work. I bring a pretty big cooler because it's summer and I have to have lots of hydration. And a lot of the vehicles I drive are not air conditioned. And I'll make sure I have everything with me: my mail bag, my clip-on sunglasses, uh, my power bank for my phone, etc. And then I'll probably like make a couple of sandwiches, throw those in the cooler, and eat breakfast, and then probably leave. And I'll maybe stop by a gas station and get some caffeine. I get to work, grab my scanner, find out what routes I'm on, load up the truck, and then go out. And I'll just be delivering all day until whenever I'm done and there's no more extra they want me to get. Then I'll go home, and then I'll doom scroll some more and then get mad at myself for doom scrolling and be like, why am I not enjoying my free time? And then
The
I'll
vicious
like maybe
cycle.
eat something and play some games. And when I'm working days, I usually play like a roguelite or something
Mm.
because, you know, plot heavy single player time
Yeah,
commitment games are better for days
yeah,
off now.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
roguelike you just like quickly jump in, like
yeah,
play for a half an hour and then just like, get back to whatever you were doing.
yeah, it's like when you go
It,
to the arcade or something, you know?
yeah, exactly. Uh, Although I would say that I do enjoy the single player, the narrative driven experience a lot more. So for me with gaming, I go weeks without playing a video game, but then all of a sudden I get hooked. I start playing a game and then I spend the next few days like 12, 15 hours every day just gaming. That's how it works for me.
Oh, it happens with some games like that for sure.
All right. So, speaking of your day-to-day life, has it changed in any significant ways, directly as a consequence of you know, becoming more accepting of your identity? Just maybe a simple thing, or maybe like a general task.
Well, I think like the big thing would be like my everyday life that has changed, like kind of how I style myself and see myself in the mirror. Like I would, like, before I was a little pickier because I was trying to fit this like role I was pigeonholed into. So I would care about appearing a certain way. And like now, like even now though, I still feel some pressure as like a non-binary person to like appear a certain way so that I can be seen as non-binary by other people. But like for the most part, I see it as like, that doesn't matter at all. Like I can just wear what I want now. I can like show and like outside of dress and stuff, I could like show my emotions in the way I want instead of like trying to hold certain things back because of what is expected of me. And I've really like I think like in my social life, I started like my best friend now is like also non-binary
Right.
and uses they she pronouns, and they're just like really cool. And I don't think like if I ever came to terms with who I am, I don't think I ever would have been able to become friends with someone like them, you know?
Yeah. Which is why I think, again, this is like sort of coming from a perspective of privilege, but I think higher education, like going to university, is important because a lot of bigotry is just born out of ignorance. Like people hate specific people because they've never met someone like that in real life. And then you go to college and you meet people who actually are queer or, different from you in any other way. And then you realize that they're people just like you. And I think that's like, I think besides the education aspect of university, I think that's the most important way in which higher education impacts people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's like I don't know about where you're at, but in America, I feel like there's this weird thing where like the people who did get to go to college and got that experience are usually tend to be more open-minded. But then like on the other end, there's like really poor people who never got to do that, who just like worked to shitty jobs and had to meet lots of people that way, and they became more open-minded because of that, and like
Of
probably
course.
because of a sense of like camaraderie between people who are, because like poor people are oppressed even if they're straight, so like it would like make more sense for them to like be allies with other oppressed people. But like but it seems like the middle class, like the good old, like
Yeah.
what few is left of the good old middle class, they like they seem to be like the most, like the least progressive, like the Gen
Yeah.
X and the Boomers, like the moderates.
Historically, the working class has always been quite progressive. And it has been the middle class that has, wanted things to stay the way they are because, it's comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, and it's because the way like jobs have changed too. Like the it was like, I don't know. There's a whole lot to get into. Actually, I'd probably ramble on too much, but like the I feel like the working class used to be the middle class, but now the working class is lower than the middle class, if that makes sense. And
Mm,
so there's like this weird divide now, like the ones who like made it well, like the like certain like factory jobs, like those people like who have been there for years and just make a lot of money doing it, like they have like this like they're usually like these right winger people, even though like they're still getting exploited, but
yeah.
like they're like,
I mean, no one's immune
yeah,
to
it's a
propaganda.
lot. Yeah, yeah. And that's what I think a lot of like bad people are just victims of propaganda, and it's sad. That's kind of maybe the positivity in me trying to blame something else than other than their own souls, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. All right, coming back to what you were talking about earlier, the changes in your day. So, you said that, you know, you've become less conscious of the way you present, the way you act. So would you say you feel at peace with your identity and how you present yourself now?
I think I do. And it's kind of like I feel peace with the fact that gender doesn't matter. And I like, but like for any of my friends or people I care about, or just any other human ever, like I respect what their gender identity to is, and I see that as a real identity. But for me personally, I just like the concept of gender in general. Like I just want to avoid that for myself, and yeah, I think like, and that brings me a lot of peace because it makes me feel more free.
Right. So, was there any point in your life prior to this stage of acceptance when you had internalized queer phobia?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's like the queerest people ever in this area were like, there's probably a 90% chance they were like using the F word, like the not the FU word, but the FA word as like
Yeah,
an insult back in like middle school. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah. So when you had internalized queer phobia, did you ever in any way punish or torment yourself for being the way you are? I mean, I'm sure you had some idea of, you know, that there was something going on inside, and it
oh
must
yeah.
have it must have clashed with your internalized queer phobia. So, did you ever like punish yourself for that?
I want to say I punished myself, but I definitely kept like, because even before I even like thought about gender identity, like I knew I was like bi really early in life, but I would like hide it from everybody. So I didn't
Hmm.
really punish myself for it, but I did feel shame for it.
Right.
So I mean, I guess you can see that as punishment, but it's not
Hmm.
like I was like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm such a freak, you know. I was like, oh, this is actually normal, but no one else around me accepts it. So I keep it a secret.
Right. Right. Um. So, did you ever use video games as a coping mechanism to deal with the struggle of coming to terms with your identity?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think I use video games as a coping mechanism for most of my social issues, regardless if it was related to sexuality or gender. You know what I mean? Like I had very few friends in most of school until like halfway through middle school. So I would come home and after getting bullied all day and come home and play video games, you know? Pretty classic story.
Yeah,
Relatable. I feel like a lot of people probably went through that.
absolutely. I
And
think at least, I mean, video games are very in vogue now. Like even the popular kids are into video games, but like go back even half a decade or a decade earlier, and if you were a gamer, you were practically a social pariah.
oh yeah, especially like, and also like, well, because when I was a kid, like as an adult, it was different because it wasn't until recently that I realized, because like a lot of like my other adult friends don't play video games. You know what I mean? A lot of them do though, but it seems like there was a period there, like when I was like first like 18 and stuff, like where a lot of people just didn't play video games anymore. And but another thing I think it is like what video games you choose to play, because
Hmm.
like I remember I was the weird one in like middle school because I was playing games on GameCube instead of playing Halo on Xbox. Like all the like cool preppy kids that played games loved Halo, and which Halo's cool. Like I'm not even hating on Halo, but I like tried Sonic Adventure 2 Battle at my cousin's house, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna get a GameCube now. Screw Halo.
Are you a multiplayer
And
guy or a single player guy?
both, I had like I even like even my internet I have now that I'm talking to you now is kind of spotty, but before that I had like satellite internet, which was like the satellite internet I had was like maybe this much better than dial-up, and before that I had dial-up. So like gaming, multiplayer gaming had to be mostly local for me until recently. And like right before I got this internet, I was like using my phone data to tether and game on, and that works pretty okay. And this internet works pretty okay. I wouldn't be like playing a game where like a ping drop is going to like throw the game for me. Like I wouldn't trust my internet with a game like that. But I play a lot of co-op games. I have one buddy who I've probably done most of my co-op gaming, and he somehow talks me into. I've played so many hours of random World of Warcraft private servers, just because that's what he plays.
Although it is quite sad, no, the decline of couch co-op or like couch multiplayer in general, because my philosophy is that I do not want to be playing video games with a person unless like I can reach around and like smack them over the head if they do something that.
Yeah,
But
that's a good policy to have.
yeah. And the other thing is, I am primarily a single player gamer, but when I do play multiplayer, I generally prefer co-op instead of versus. Like I've spent
Same.
hundreds of hours on Left 4 Dead 2.
Really? That's classic. That's awesome.
Yeah. That was an incredibly fun game.
Did you ever try Back 4 Blood?
I did not.
Some people said it was pretty okay. I know it's supposed to be like a spiritual successor or whatever. Be pretty interesting to check out, maybe.
I actually played the Left 4 Dead games in the wrong order. I played Left 4 Dead 2 first, and then I played Left 4 Dead 1, which doesn't really make much of a difference because the campaign, like the story is not really the focus of the game, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought like Left 4 Dead 1's campaign was like into, but I could be wrong because I've only played it a little bit with some friends.
So another game you mentioned that you're a massive fan of is Morrowind. Um, when it comes to character creation, what kind of character do you usually build?
So like when I do character creation in a game, I hardly ever try to make myself. And I don't and I know especially a lot of like trans people like to make the person they want to be or that they're like working toward. But for me, it's more like when I have character creation, I'm like, all right, if I could be anything else in life for a few weeks, what would I be? You know what I mean? Like, so like I try to like put a lot of variety in my character creation. I try to like switch the genders around a lot, do different races, different like classes, because to me it's like this is my chance to like be anything I want to be, no matter what it is, and like it's also my chance to be like kind of like a shapeshifter, because like ideally, as far as the physical side of my body, gender wise, it would be really cool if I could just change it up all the time whenever I felt like it. But that's not going to be possible in my lifetime, if ever.
You never know.
I also really like games that let you change your appearance halfway through.
Oh yeah.
There's some games where you find like an item that does that. I think Dark Souls 2 has one. I forgot what it's called.
Saints Row, you can like completely change everything about your character. Like Saints Row is fantastic.
That's funny.
Speaking of character creation, when I was playing Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, the player character I designed after my partner at the time, and so at the time I was really buff and my partner was really skinny. So I designed the player character after my partner. I made them really, really buff and the follower that you have in Dragon's Dogma. I designed that character after myself, but made them really, really skinny. Um, it was always a trip to play that game. In fact, I made some I took screenshots of the game and I made artwork based on that, and I had posters of it up. It was just a trip to look at.
That's funny. I see.
So
I
yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I was
No.
just gonna say, I think next time I have a character creation with a lot of options, I'm gonna see if I can actually make someone that looks like me, because I've never attempted that before. So that sounds kind of funny, actually.
So back when I was in high school, the popular game to play was FIFA, and it's never made sense to me. But like all these dude bros would buy every FIFA game every year. It's the same game.
Yeah.
It's the same game. But yeah, it was the game to play was FIFA, and I remember at some point they introduced this feature where you take a picture of your face from the front and a picture of your face from the side, and you upload them to the EA website, and it creates a character that looks like you. And I tried it, and
Yeah.
I mean, this was like years ago, so obviously it worked terribly.
They had that for the first The Sims game. You would upload a picture of yourself, and it would like make like this like horrific version of yourself. That
So,
stuff's neat to me though. Like
yeah.
even if the
So,
results are awkward, that stuff's cool to me.
yeah, I try to make my characters as outlandish as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, uh, when I was playing Breath of the Wild, the Zora armor, like the whole suit with the helmet, everything. With these kinds of games, these immersive games, I really immerse myself, right? Like, I fully decorated my house in Breath of the Wild with the best weapons in the game. I used to cook regularly. I used to collect monster parts. I used to. My my iPhone Notes app has lists. Like how people have grocery shopping lists. I have lists of things to collect in the game. But what I was getting at is that I had the Zora armor, the entire set, and I dyed it in the color scheme of Aquaman's suit.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I never even thought about that because like that is kind of I can see the Zora armor being like an alternate Aquaman suit,
yeah,
like design for like some like offshoot or something or
yeah.
one shot.
And the Zora helm looks perfect because I'm talking about comic book Aquaman, right? Who has like long
Mhm.
blonde hair. So like you just dye the Zora helm yellow, and you look exactly like Aquaman, except you're a twink instead of like a hulking monster. And
Yeah, like a twink instead of a hunk.
yeah,
I guess Link can kind of be a twunk because Link's still really fit. He's just
uh,
tiny.
yeah. Link is so a funny quirk I have is that I like lying about my height, and I just go around telling people that I'm 5'2" when I'm clearly not. I'm like 5 feet 10. Okay, so it's like very obviously a lie. So when I say it online, people believe me. But now I'll transition to real life, and just last night with a friend of mine who is actually 5'2", and I clearly tower over. I spent like half an hour just like relentlessly debating about how I'm 5'2".
That's a
Okay,
good bit.
but yeah, so you generally do not create a character to be a stand-in for you, or like a representation of how you like it to be, or how you would like to present yourself, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, basically it's like oh, I want to be an orc
Yeah.
for or like maybe this time I want to be a little tiny person and I'll be like a halfling or you know. There's not a Elder Scrolls. It disappoints me because Elder Scrolls doesn't have like a gnome or a halfling like race. Like you can't
True.
just be a little dude in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing because I do I like it would be fun to like just be like a little like really tiny person in Morrowind. One time I was playing a Morrowind multiplayer, like the like mod that someone made, and I was on this server, and there was I don't know what this person did with like maybe a game created spell or something or a console command, but there was this really tiny like wizard person just following me around, like saying stuff to me. It was pretty funny.
Although you do get to be a half cat. Not many games allow
A
that.
half what?
Cat.
A half cat, yeah. This the Khajiit. That's a yeah. That is a pretty uncommon race trope in fantasy games. There's like a cat race in Final Fantasy 14, right?
I have not played Final Fantasy 14. As I said, I'm not like a multiplayer guy.
Yeah, it feels like a single player game that just has a bunch of other people playing it, kind of. At least until you get to the raids and stuff.
I played Final Fantasy 15 for a fair bit though. It's really funny because with any other piece of media, like you can tell pretty early on whether you're going to like it or not, right? Like if you're watching a movie and if like the first, I don't know, 10-15 minutes don't get you, uh,
Hmm.
you're usually like, you know what, I'll try this again later. Um, but with video games, Final Fantasy 15, I sunk 20 hours into the game and then I was like, yeah, no, this shit ain't hitting.
I never tried. See, Final Fantasy 15 has an appealing like character cast,
Yeah,
but I heard like the plot and how it goes is just kind of wonky. Like not necessarily bad, but just like if people said it felt unfinished.
it has a lot of good gameplay mechanics though.
Really?
Yeah, it does.
See, I just never tried it.
Also like you have to be really cautious early in the game before you level up enough because like if you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time you're just like straight up dead. Also like
That's
once you level up sufficiently, like so there's a day and night cycle, and during the night if you're on the road like monsters appear, and once you level up enough like that kind of it's kind of a fun thing, like driving at night, looking for monsters and trying to beat them. But once you get like a high enough level, like that that thread goes away, which kind of takes away from the game a little bit. I feel, but but also, I'm not a fan of like enemy scaling, so can't have it both ways.
yeah. That's kind of even though Skyrim has enemy scaling, I feel at one point the dragon attacks start becoming like you know how like every game has that one enemy that's more annoying than the rest. Like in Morrowind, the cliff racers, they like fly around when you're climbing mountains and they won't leave you alone.
Yeah.
In Skyrim, the first few dragons you fight, you're like, whoa, this is awesome. I'm getting all the stuff to sell. But then eventually it's just like you're like traveling and you're just like, oh my God, this is a dragon again. And I have to fight this thing. And it's not even hard anymore. Yeah. So
Which is
I see what you mean for sure.
which is why I have to commend Breath of the Wild because every single time you encounter a Lionel, it's you know like
Oh yeah,
fight
Lionels are
like
fun, especially like if you're doing
immediate,
like the Master Quest.
yeah, yeah,
The Master
immediate
Quest for
fight
Breath
or
of the
flight
Wild
mode.
was pretty insane.
You spot a
Yes.
Lionel and it's immediate fight or flight response.
Oh, the Gleeoks in Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't even
Yeah.
tried to fight one of
Oh
those
my
yet. I
god.
just stay
Yes, yes.
away.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And,
Oh my god. I was just playing Tears of the Kingdom yesterday and I was making my way to one of the sky towers. So I'm still pretty early in the game. I was on the
oh
way
yeah.
to the sky towers and there was a Gleeok and obviously it instantly killed me. And then I respawned in the exact same spot and it proceeded to instantly kill me again. And this happened 4 times
Yeah.
before I just like as the moment the game loaded, I teleported away from there.
See, I love Tears of the Kingdom, like because like Tears of the Kingdom, it's not like the combat's not hard, but there's
Hmm.
still so many goofy ways you could just accidentally die, or like
Yeah,
like just be next to an exploding barrel without thinking while you're fighting, or like the Gleeoks until you like are able to manipulate their weaknesses. They're pretty hard.
especially
I still
early
haven't
on.
fought one. Like,
So my strategy is like I finish my first. I get up to 5 hearts instead of 3, and after I get
mhm.
5 hearts, I keep upgrading the stamina wheel until it's maxed out, and then I go for more hearts. So until my stamina wheel is completed, like pretty much, like I don't know, 70-80% of enemies can just like one shot me.
Yeah, it's a great game though. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Also, it's really
The boss.
the fuse ability is really funny sometimes. I so
Yeah.
there's this there's this object in the game called fire like stone. So I just fused it to my shield and I can go to the cold regions without having any like cold resistance elixirs or like any warm clothing.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, because there's like this warm fireball on my back at all times.
You want to know something cool that I learned recently that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't see like someone post about it?
What?
You know the dazzle fruits that
Yeah,
stun enemies?
yeah, yeah.
If you use those on the Stalfos enemies, it instantly kills them. Like the skeleton enemies.
Really? That does
Yeah,
make sense
you just
though.
throw it down.
Yeah, that does make sense though.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason, undead things in the Zelda universe are weak against lightning because, like the Gibdos in the desert area, their weakness is lightning.
Hmm. Okay, coming back to the Elder Scrolls. So were you partial to any factions in the game, like the Mages Guild, the Thieves Guild, Great Houses?
This is actually a funny thing to talk about because this is so I pretty much I've done Redrin once and I've done Lalu once, but the Telvanni is my favorite to do because even though they're the most racist and evil house, they're like they're not even really they're just so chaotically neutral that they're basically evil kind of like they're like super libertarians basically. They're like the libertarians of the Elder Scrolls universe, but their rule is that if you kill another Telvanni member, then obviously you deserve to live more than that person, so you won't even get kicked out for killing other members. So I work my way up Telvanni and I get the house because the house you get from the Telvanni quest is the coolest house you can have in Morrowind without
Yeah.
mods. And so I'll get the house, I'll build all the way up, I'll become I think it's the Magister or something. I forgot what the leader is or the highest rank you can get, and then I'll just kill all the other ones and then free all their slaves. So like I do it for like revolutionary reasons, basically.
um, Do you have a favorite quest line in the game? It doesn't even have to be like a major quest line, just like a small side quest.
I really like I mean, it's kind of a major quest line, but the quest line is like, it's mostly like like a fetch quest and just like go to these areas and do something. But the temple quests in Morrowind, because you get to learn about the lessons of Vivek, you get to learn like the lore, and that's some of like the best lore written for Elder Scrolls, in my opinion, because that's when what's his name, Michael Kirkbride, he was working for Bethesda at the time, and he's often described as the best lore writer that Bethesda's ever had. And I think Morrowind was the last game he worked on. And the Dark Elf and Dunmer lore is all really, really, really fascinating. They're maybe not necessarily my favorite race to play, but they're probably the coolest like lore in history of all the races. Argonians are really cool too.
You know what? If it were up to me, I would have set the Elder Scrolls 6 and elsewhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Tropical Elder Scrolls would be, because on Elder Scrolls Online, I played a little bit of it just to kind of like see the other areas that aren't in the other games.
Yeah.
Well, Elsewhere is in like Arena, but Arena's got like a weird smaller version of the total map. But like it's just really pretty how they did it. It's just like a tropical area. It reminds me of like some of the maps from Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne.
Right.
Cozy. I like water a lot too. Bodies of water are great.
Speaking of Warcraft, you you said that you specifically love Warcraft 2 and 3. Uh,
Oh yeah.
the games have like a very distinct style of storytelling and role.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering if there's like any aspect of the narrative that you find more compelling than the rest.
So I always really liked the orcs. When I first played Warcraft 2, I was a little kid. I was like, why would I play the humans? I am a human. Let me be a big green guy. And like the orcs are bad in Warcraft 2. They're still like controlled by the demonic bloodlust that the Burning Legion like manipulated them with, essentially. And so it was kind of fun playing a game where I could play. It was like probably the first game I played where like I could be the evil side. And it was one of my first PC games too, also. So that's part of why it's really important to me. And then, Warcraft 3 came out, and luckily enough, my family just got a new computer, so I was able to run it. And I was like, whoa, the orcs are turning good now. Because, like, the story of Thrall and how he, like, wanted to free his people from the demonic, like, control and shit, from the Burning Legion's control, I thought that was really cool. I really liked the whole, like, going back to their roots aspect of it. And it was just also like, okay, being evil is fun, but now my favorite dudes are good now. This is awesome.
Yeah,
And like I thought.
yeah, and
You go ahead.
yeah, right. So, about not just the narrative, the characterization in Warcraft is also pretty great. Like Warcraft has some very iconic characters. Do you have a favorite hero or unit?
I really, really used to like Orgrim Doomhammer, who was the chieftain of the Horde in Warcraft 2. He I just thought his designs in the instruction manual were really cool. He was like Thrall like kind of inherited like his weapon and stuff, I'm pretty sure. Like Thrall, like I actually read one of the books that takes place between Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 that's about Thrall and how he like escaped the human that was like enslaving him and stuff. And so like and then Thrall became my other favorite character. And I guess I really like the Malfurion Storm Rage because I thought the Night Elves were really cool too in Warcraft 3. I like the like shamanistic aspects of the orcs, and I liked the like druid aspects of the Night Elves a lot. Like, even though they were like at odds in the game, I thought there was like kind of like a parallel with how they were. And Cairn Bloodhoof, the Tauren character, big cow dude, he's really cool. He's awesome. And I liked his how he met Thrall and like really respected Thrall and was like, okay, I'm gonna help out the orcs, and then they joined the Horde.
Right.
World of Warcraft had a lot of questionable lore changes, but World of Warcraft was pretty good up until like Wrath of the Lich King, and after that, it started going downhill a little bit.
So, moving on from the game itself to the players, for many people, the social aspect of it is like pretty essential. So, how has being a queer individual influenced your experiences or interactions within the Warcraft community?
Really? Until like I got into like the WoW private servers, like most of my like I didn't play Warcraft 2 or Warcraft 3 online much at all, but like I would be on forums a lot when I was younger, and I don't know, it really never seemed like my gender representation really mattered in those communities because it was just like, you know, anonymous forum posting. Like I had like a profile, but like, you know, I didn't really think it made much of a difference at all with that. But like recently with like WoW players, I think there's a lot of queer WoW players, like tons of them. I think MMOs in general have a proportionately large percentage of queer players, especially with like private servers. A lot of queer people are not wealthy, so they play. You know, they'll pirate games and play private servers and stuff.
Yeah. Also, with the more niche games, I feel like they're the perfect environment to foster a community that's, more welcoming.
Yeah,
I feel like video games are the only hobby where people like gatekeep. Like, don't you want other people to enjoy your interest as well? Why do you have to like keep people out, dude? Wouldn't it be better if there were more gamers?
yeah, I agree with that. And like, yeah, like I'm pretty excited about like there's a lot of like OG Yakuza fans that like are like mad about the changes in the remasters and blah blah blah, and like I'm like you used to not even get Yakuza games in America sometimes because like Yakuza 5 is it came out, it didn't come out until like 2015, and it originally came out like when the PS4 like first came out. It came out on the PS3 and PS4, I think, and there was only like a digital release of it like 3 years later in the West. But now like we get the games on the first day and stuff. It's like it's helpful when there's a big audience. I mean, I guess sometimes it can bring some annoyances maybe.
This is this is odd, but you know what my favorite aspect of the Yakuza games is?
What?
Cabaret Club Manager.
Oh yeah, especially the cabaret side quest in like Yakuza 3 through 5 are a little iffy, but Yakuza 0
Yakuza
is when they
0
like
and Kiwami 2. Those are the ones.
two, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it back for they're which one? I don't know if it's 8 or Gaiden, but they're bringing it back for one of the new ones.
Oh,
Because I haven't played much 7 yet, so I don't know if there's anything similar in 7. But I'm pretty sure I heard they're bringing it back for one of the new ones, and that's exciting.
I have the steelbook for Kiwami too. It's actually
That's
pretty stunning.
awesome.
It's stunning. It's so good. There are like a handful of steel books which are worth it. Uh, Neo 2 has an incredibly beautiful steel book. That comes
Neo
with like
2.
an Neo 2. Yeah, the steel book comes with like an art book as well with all the concept art and everything. It's
That's awesome.
beautiful.
I tried I'm okay at Dark Souls. Like I've made it about halfway through Dark Souls 1 before I was just kind of like ready to play other games, and I'll probably go back to it at some point. But I tried Neo 2, and there's just this like I can't even get past like the first like level or area because this big like ape demon thing like wrecks me every time, and I'm like, this is way like some people say Dark Souls is harder than Neo or vice versa, but I think Neo is definitely the harder games.
Neo 1 is definitely harder. Neo 2 is a bit more balanced.
Really?
Yeah,
So is
yeah.
Neo 1 harder in like a they didn't even think this out kind of way? Like it just feels
Neo
unbalanced.
1 is like just straight up unfair. Yeah,
That's see Neo 2. I thought Neo 2 was unfair compared to Dark Souls at least, but I mean maybe I just have to like look up some videos or something and learn. But
yeah. No, Neo 2 is it's a fun game, especially like some of the more challenging bosses, like the catharsis you get when you finally beat them. It's uh, inexplicable. Like you can't put that into words. But like, I don't remember who said this to me, but like all these Souls-like games, like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Neo, Sekiro, all of these, it's like it's like banging your head repeatedly against a wall until you give yourself enough brain damage to actually enjoy the game.
yeah, that's probably that's how I would describe it. Like there's definitely some people who are out there who are probably just like, oh yeah, I'm just really good at Dark Souls, blah blah blah. Which yeah, I'm sure there are, but like for like people like me, you have to go through a lot of frustration before you can even really start like enjoying it. You know.
Yeah, I'm not like I'm not of I don't subscribe to the get good mentality except for Devil May Cry. That's the one franchise where I'm like, bro, like the whole point is
Well,
styling.
Devil May Cry though, you could
Yeah,
like. I feel like games like that they're easier to coast through if you're just trying to get through the game and the narrative.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But like if you want to
If you
be
want to,
good,
yeah,
yeah, you
yeah,
have to like
like
actually
easy to get
practice
into, but
combos and
difficult to
shit.
master.
Yeah, and I like that. And I also like speaking of hard games, one of my favorite hard games is Hotline Miami because like
Hmm.
you could try a level before you beat it, but it only takes like 3 minutes to do that because it's so everything's so short and the respawn is so fast. Where like Dark Souls and like Souls like games, you know, it's gonna take you an evening to lose against the same boss 4 times,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have to go to bed.
Right, Juice. Before we uh, before our time comes to an end, I have two questions for you before we say goodbye. First, uh,
Okay.
who is your favorite queer character in a video game and why? And do you relate to them, or is it because you do not relate to them?
Honestly, like I mentioned Quinn earlier from Final Fantasy 9. I don't really, I forgot his name, but the Breath of the Wilds. You know what I'm talking about?
Your voice broke off for a second there.
He's really like
Oh,
like
the
kind of like loud
construction
and
guy.
proud type, and
Are you
like
talking about the construction guy?
yeah, I forgot his name, but
Bolson?
I like how like because you know how like when yes, you know how when like yeah, Bolson, he's the one from Breath of the
Yeah,
Wild.
yeah, the one
I
who's
think
sitting
he's in
next
Tears
to
of the
your
Kingdom, but I
cooking
haven't
pot.
met
The
him yet.
one who's always sitting next to your cooking pot.
Yeah, and
Upside down.
he's got like a
Yeah,
bandana.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
He you know how like in Zelda games they like make like little like voice sounds when they talk, but
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
actually have
yeah.
like voice acting.
Mhm.
The sounds he made were just like really sassy and cute, I thought.
Yeah,
So like I just really liked him.
yeah.
And I like that
Uh,
he was a construction contractor who was just really like flamboyant because
yeah.
that's the opposite of construction contractors I meet at like where I live.
All right. Finally, is there a game you would recommend to someone questioning their identity or their sexuality?
Hmm. Honestly, I would like recommend a lot of like indie games
Mhm.
with like more like clear representation. Because a lot of the stuff I grew up with that like, you know, kind of inspired me was like more subtle or not like out loud. But like there's games like you know, like Celeste or A Night in the Woods, which have like good dialogue and stuff. Like especially Night in the Woods has like good dialogue and like queer characters. And I think that stuff like that is just like good for anybody to consume. Like it's like good representation. Something
Right.
clear because
Yeah.
like having to
Yeah.
question it for so long is stressful.
Yeah. All right, Juice. It's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Uh, to our viewers, please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel for more future conversations. And goodbye.